Hi, Shannon from Raven and the Wolf Spiritual Services. Happy holidays, everyone. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about spirit guides and people that you might and things that you might be feeling around you. I've been getting a lot of questions about that lately, and I have some concerns of my own that I'd like to address a little bit today in this video. So let's get right into it. A lot of people that come to me ask me who's around me, who are my spirit guides, who in the angelic realm is around me. And we do always have things and people and beings around us. It's really beautiful. That's part of the multiverse that we live in, right? So, this multi-dimensional space where things can coexist energetically. And the more you are aware, the more you're going to feel these other things and these other energies. But they do exist around us, and sometimes they like to make themselves known, right? So sometimes it's in the form of audible communication. We can hear them in our heads. Sometimes they like to give us communication in the form of things like numbers. A lot of people see, angelic realm numbers. So 111, 222, 333, 1222, those kinds of things. A lot of people see communications and signs in the form of birds or dimes, or, there are a million different ways that we can be communicated with. So today, instead of talking about all of the different ways we can be communicated with, I want to talk to you a little bit about ways that we shouldn't be communicated with. Because for the myriad of ways that energetic beings can communicate with us, and there are so many, there are a few ways that should put up big gigantic red flags, and you should immediately shut something down. So everything around us, as we know, is energy, right? It is made out of recycled energy. That's how the beings around us communicate, is through energetic means. If it's moving something or sending a bird or showing us the numbers, things like that. And those things we're used to and are okay. But what we have to remember is that even though there are some really amazing things out there are some things that are lower, denser vibrations, and they can be a little bit tricky, and they can definitely pretend that they're something else that they aren't, in order to kind of get their hooks in you. So I want to give you guys some red flags when you feel like you're being communicated with, and you wonder, who this being is, or who this person is that's trying to speak to you, and if they're safe or not. So these are some red flags to let you know that maybe you need to kind of shut things down and set up some really, really clear boundaries and barriers, okay? So the very first thing is, if something comes in and is really, really persistent and almost aggressive in its need to speak to you, that is usually a red flag. Nothing should be super aggressive. There should always be a reciprocal communication, right? You invite them in and they come in. It's a back and forth. You set up boundaries. If they're being too talkative or too aggressive or too present, you say no, they listen and back off, things like that. I would like to say you want to be careful what you do invite in, because there is a spiritual law called the law of request. And unless you request something to come to you, something really shouldn't come to you. So if you've said, to the universe, I would like to invite in my angels and guides, that is an invitation. But that doesn't mean, just like, you can have a party and have unwanted guests, when you send out an invitation like that into the universe, you can have unwanted guests, okay? So if somebody comes or something comes, or it's an energy and it seems to be very persistent, in needing and wanting to communicate with you, and you've set up boundaries and barriers and it's not respecting that, that's a huge red flag to really cut off that communication, to maybe do some energetic boundary work. Sometimes sage and things like that don't cut it. You need to do something more definitive, call in the angelic realm, ask for those very clear boundaries, ask for the help, because once again, with the law of request, you have to ask for help as well. So another thing that I want you guys to remember is that nothing should ever touch you. So if you feel a touch, if you feel something pushing you, if you feel anything like that, that is a big, gigantic red flag. That is nothing that I've ever really experienced. I mean, I sure, people will feel like a breeze or something like that. That's different than a full-on touch. That is something you should never feel, okay? Not unless, once again, they ask you and you say that's okay, but I would also say that's a red flag too. So that leads me into red flag number 3. And that is when anything asks to actually be allowed into your physical vessel with you. Absolutely not. That's always a big red flag for me. Nothing ever needs to come in and kind of push me out and be there. I know there are a lot of people who do channel, but unless you have had a lot of experience with channeling, and you know exactly who and what you're inviting in, something that wants to actually enter into your physical space is that's a no-go. That's a very, very big red flag. Some other things to keep in mind is that if you feel really uncomfortable, if you feel like you're being asked to do things that you don't like doing, that don't resonate with you, that make you sad, that feel like they're overtaxing you or asking you for too much, that's another big red flag. Right? Of course, it could be source of the angelic realm asking you to do your work, but then have a communication. Say, this feels like too much. I can't do this, or I need more help, or things like that. But then you should receive it. So anything that's really pushing you to do things that feel really uncomfortable, then you should see that as a red flag and absolutely cut off contact. Another thing that I want people to closely think about, pay mindful attention to, especially right now that we've ushered in the age of Aquarius. Age of Aquarius is a time where we can manifest almost anything, right? Within reason. We can manifest wonderful things, but we can also manifest scary things. So the more you sit in a place of fear, the more you're going to invite in those lower energies, those lower vibrating energies. So your greatest defense on all of this is a great offense. So keeping your vibrational rate high. So staying out of places of fear. So if you feel very, very fearful when something is around, that's a big red flag. A lot of the denser energies feed on fear and doubt and worry and things like that. So when you alleviate that, then they're not going to be able to get to you. I always call that low-hanging fruit, right? So you don't ever see like the Jerry Springer show and somebody comes on and they're very peaceful and tranquil and they're saying kind things about people, right? And then somebody comes out who's a hot mess and it's their partner. You usually don't see that. It's usually like energy attracts like energy. So if you stay in a place of fear, if you stay in a place of negativity, if you are scared of what's around you, you're going to be calling in more of that. Be very, very mindful. So it is possible for you to coexist in a space with very low vibrating entities, but not even really know it because you're vibrating so high they can't access you, right? Just because it's in the same physical space doesn't mean that it's in the same space and in the same space in time, which is a lot of what we're going to be working with as well. So we're going to start understanding that it isn't physical space that we move through. It is the idea of time that we move through. So, and these are different dimensions and vibrational spaces. So if you vibrate at a very, very high rate, right, you don't give into hate and fear and these kinds of things, you're going to encounter these lower vibrating, denser energies a lot less. Okay, so hopefully that helps when it comes to, like I said, spiritual guides, the energetic beings that are around you. it is a two-way street. You know, this isn't magic where the only, you know, you have to take what you get, right? You have to set up very clear boundaries, just like you would for house guests or friends or relationships in your life. You need to set up very, very clear boundaries, letting them know what is okay, what isn't okay. You know, if they are beings that you want to have around you, just like in life, they're going to listen and respect you and respect your request. But if they don't, just like a normal person in your relationship and in your life, you would ask them to leave, right? So think about that. Apply the same rules to these energies that are around you or that you're calling into your space that you would apply to any other person in your life, okay? Just because you can't physically see them in the same way doesn't mean that they don't have to adhere to the same rules, the same spiritual laws that we all do. So hopefully this helped, and thanks for listening, and I will see you guys soon. I'm going to be offering a ton of workshops, and if you have any questions or you'd like me to offer a very specific workshop, let me know, because that is what I'm here to do. Okay, thank you so much, and take care, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.